I'm Chris May, and you're watching the Fab Forums. My first rig was a 87 Ford Ranger, four-wheel drive. You got a full on it, and of course, if you know anything about a Ranger, they pretty much suck. It had a 7.5 Ford and a Dana 28, and it broke. As soon as I started welding spider gears, it broke every weekend. I seen some guys in Toyotas, just beating the dog crap out of them up in the mountains, and knew I had to get one of them. So I bought a Toyota, obviously. And then we started competing with that Toyota. Got into rock crawling. There's a bunch of local guys around here that actually, Ken Cheap and Chris Durham, that were the best of the sport in the whole United States. So it kind of got me into it. I started with a 1983 Toyota pickup truck, modified it. A good buddy of mine, Tommy Glenn, pretty much, we put a cage in it, and then he kind of got into it and said, hey, why don't you build a buggy? We built the first chassis from the ground up. Did that, competed, always did good, but of course never really had the money I was still in college, never really had the money to just shell out $50,000, $60,000 back then. Then the rock crawling, everybody started getting more power. It wasn't uncommon to see 400 or 500 horsepower in a rock crawler. So then they kind of got racing them. Well, I wanted to race too, wanted to go fast. Well, Toyotas and go fast don't really work, so I kind of had to branch away. I did race a 4-cylinder for a while, a little 22R. Then me and Tommy got together and we built another car just for racing. But my engine was a little supercharged 3.8. I think I got it at the junkyard, for $300 or $400. It was dirt cheap. XRA started taking off. It got even, then people were putting 600-800 horsepower in it. Then you obviously need more power, you need better transmissions, better axles, Trump Molly was the thing of the past. Everybody's got 300M, or, people are getting professional built transmissions now where you should build them in the garage. Then this guy out west come up with this King of the Hammers idea where, hey, let's take these rock crawlers and go race 100 miles in the desert. Alright, I'm Chris May, and this is my 2014 Ultra 4 car that we built right here in Seneca, South Carolina. It's a complete custom chassis that me and Tommy Glenn built. It's a mixture, it's all DOM. It's a mixture of 1 3/4 188, 1 3/4 120. There's some 1.5 inch in here, 120, 1 1/4. Starting at the bottom of the car, this thing is going to see a crazy amount of abuse and rocks and everything. So the whole bottom of the car is pretty much 188, 1 3/4 DOM. Pretty much any bar that's going to hit rocks is 188 wall. Right here at the front of the car, we looks like we got a radiator here, but it's actually a transmission cooler. The heat and transmission in these things is what kills 90% of your cars at the Hammers. We run all PSC steering. We actually got the winch behind the transmission cooler here just to kind of keep weight more center of the car, down low. Another cool thing on these cars is we run a synthetic rope. Every other winch usually has cable on it. Synthetic's pretty cool, but Southeast Overland is basically our recovery helping guys. They help us out with everything we need recovery-wise, keep us going. So if you ever need any winch line or anything, hit Southeast. The biggest part of a Ultra 4 car is the suspension. So we've got I run these King bypass shocks. They're triple bypass Kings 2.5. But the engine is actually an 06 supercharged 3800 out of mine come out of a Grand Prix, but kind of sleeper cars. You can get them out of Regals, anything like that. I did put cam and intercooled it, put ARP bolts in the bottom end, redid it when I built the car last year. I guess you say one of the ways I can go fast in the desert but also still be able to climb rocks is I chose a 700R4, and it's actually it's kind of a baby 700R4 to where it bolts directly to my supercharged 3.8 through a 60-degree bolt pattern. With the 700R4 having that 3-to-1 gear ratio, I can still get at the rock ledges pretty good. And then behind it, we got an Atlas transfer case, which is only a 2-to-1 in low range. So you might think, well, put it in low range. Well, low range is only 2-to-1. That way we can still run, this car will still run about 75 mile an hour in low range. And then if I need any faster than that, I can kick it in the high range and it'll run. If I can get the car up over 100 miles, it'll go well over 100 miles an hour. Obviously with only about 400 horsepower, it takes a little while to get there. Right here behind the car down low this is actually the Intercooler Cooler, cooling the water underneath the intercooler. That's how we get a good bit of boost out of the car. But then in the back is our radiator. It's Griffin radiator, dual fans. Then from the Atlas we have, we run Carolina driveline drive shafts, 1350 yokes, and only got 22 gallons of fuel, V6. It actually got about 6-7 miles a gallon last year in the race. I was pretty happy with that. So 22 gallons, that'll get us to go a long way. This year I think it's only 23 miles between pits, but obviously you don't want to stop at every single pit. On the back of the car we did something pretty neat here. This is actually a spare unit hub. The spare tire mounts to the unit hub. That way if you ever, obviously we carry a spare in the long races, we carry a spare tire, blow a tire out. You actually got this little trunk feature here under the spare tire. Pop this up. It's definitely a two-man job with a 40-inch tire on there. You know, you carry your impacts, all your fluids, everything back here. Trunk, I guess you could say. But then also, if you had a unit hub go bad, you can throw this unit hub on the car and just throw your babin on here to mount the spare on, or just leave all that stuff off to the side and get back on it and go. On the back of the car also we run a Speedway Engineering's sway bar, King 2.0 bump stops, 2-inch travel. Our lower links, we actually run a trailing arm setup to try to get a little more, you know, we take a 16-inch travel shock, try to get 20 plus inches of travel out of it, so we mount it to the arm. Our upper control arms are 70-75 aluminum, and then the lower control arm is actually just, it's 1.25 quarter wall DOM, but inside of that we put 60-61 aluminum just to kind of stiffen it up so it doesn't, so it don't bend. And then our joints are all 1.25 Heims. Actually there's two different kinds here. This is just these are all barns full of drive joints, and these actually have a whole year of racing on them. And as you can see, you still can't hardly turn them by hand. They've been really good joints. But on the bottom here is a joint that Brad actually designed for barn full drive. It's a Duro joint we've been running, testing it out. As you can see, a whole year of use on it, and you still can't. They're still really good. So also on the car we run Raceline bead locks all the way around. 17x9 monster bead locks. They've been pretty good. Aluminum. They've been pretty heavy duty. They take some beating. And then also for the axle shafts in the car, this is all 300M stuff from CTM, and the front of my car can actually steer 50 degrees to where a normal axle doesn't usually turn but about 36 degrees. So we got CTM joints, CTM axles. Like I said, it's all 300M stuff. Holds up pretty good. And then the biggest problem on this car has actually been unit hubs. We got a new Spider Tracks unit hub here. This is a complete custom unit, kind of based off the Ford unit bearing, but we're hoping these they're side Pacific actually this year, so you can actually, they're made for the left and right hand side of the car, but hoping them will hold up pretty good. 35 spine stuff all the way around. Also on the car we run 40-inch Maxxis Trepador tires. The compound's super soft compound, just, you know, for traction to get up the rocks and everything. And then also in the car, our axles front and rear are fabricated 9-inch housings. These are actually trail gear housings, 3/8 tube, 3.5-inch diameter. We run the same Spider Tracks hubs I was showing you earlier. We run the Spider Tracks knuckles, the inner and outer C's. But then inside, like I said, it's a fabricated 9-inch, but then inside of the housings we run Yukon nodular iron third members. It's all 9-inch base stuff. We actually run a spool in the rear and then a grizzly locker in the front, which is like a Detroit, just a little bit beefier than a Detroit. And then 543 gears are in the differentials.